Okay, now that we've looked at our chart and we understood what our low tides are at our departing port and our destination port, we took a look at our tides and currents, so we know what our tides and currents are doing. The next thing we're going to take a look at next is what the weather and what the wind is forecasted, because that's the most dynamic thing that's going to change approaching your sail date. Everything else pretty much stays the same, but you can't predict exactly what the wind's going to be doing or the weather till you actually approach that date. So right now we're about 5 days out. It's Monday. We're sailing this Saturday. I use a couple of references for the weather and the winds. So let's take a look at what the winds are doing for this day. I use an expanded 15-day forecast for a general weather report over the entire San Francisco area. Just gives us a kind of a general indication of what's happening. So for Saturday the 18th, we can see that it's going to be passing clouds mild. It is going to be warm, we know, 75 degrees with a 56 degree low. Here the winds are forecasted for 12, which is going to be nice if that happens. Anything above 10 is a great day. 15 would be perfect, but anything between 10 and 15 is a perfect time out on the bay. So it's predicted to be 12 miles an hour coming in from the west-southwest. I also take a snippet of this for my binder to take out on the boat with me, and I have that right here, and I highlight it again indicating what is forecasted. This also gets printed out and put on the same binder for the same charter date. So I have a good idea. It's going to be 12 miles an hour. It's going to be a very nice warm day. But for the winds, to actually zero in on what the winds are doing, I like using an app called WindFinder. WindFinder is a much greater focus on what's happening with the winds out on the bay. So for WindFinder, let's bring up our WindFinder app. And again, I have this program to the Bay Area. This is in real time. Today's Monday, 8/13, and this is what the winds are doing right now on the bay. Let's zero in here a little bit. And I'll explain this to you if you haven't seen WindFinder before. This is my favorite that I added. This is what the wind is doing at the Golden Gate Bridge right now in real time. Actually, it's 2 p.m. on 8/13 right now. Let me come up here. Yeah, it is. It's 1:58, so it's 2 p.m. If I come up here and actually click on my favorites, it brings up what's going on right now. So right now, it's 8 miles an hour out at the bridge. Winds are west-southwest at 246. Likewise, I can close this. What's nice about WindFinder is you can zero in anywhere on the bay and basically pick a spot, and it'll tell you what the wind is doing there. If I picked over here near Angel Island and just clicked on the chart, right now it's 8 miles an hour at Angel Island. If I clicked over here behind Treasure Island, it's also 8. And if I come down here to Alameda and take a look at Alameda, it's also 8. So 8 miles per hour average right now. But I want to know what the wind is going to be predicted for the 18th. So let me move it up to the 18th here. And I'm interested in the afternoon hours between 2 and 5. So for the 18th, according to WindFinder out at the Bay Bridge, it says 7. So you can see it's dramatically different forecast from what the overall forecast was for the bay. When we looked at this chart here, it says 12 miles an hour west side from the west at 12, where WindFinder shows it at 7 from the west. So that's the variable there. It'll be anywhere between 7, 10, maybe 12. I like it to be on the higher side. I would love a 15 mile an hour day. That's perfect for these big boats. But anyway, we will have some wind. There was a high air pressure system forecasted nearby, which is what's driving these winds to be lower. But we should have enough wind to at least have a good time out there. We'll monitor this up until the day of our sail. But for right now, we have a good indication that winds are anywhere from 7 to 12 from the west on Saturday. Okay, so let me close that. The next thing that I like to talk about is communication with you and the various members of your crew. It's really important to let everybody know what you as a skipper have in mind and to communicate that actively with the rest of your crew, especially whoever your first mate's going to be. So the way that I do that is I prepare a very detailed email with all this information. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. So this is an example of an email that I send out to everybody who's going to be on that particular cruise. I include all those snippets that I mentioned, where our tides are going to be, what the currents are going to be, what areas we're going to visit. I also include a copy of our standard safety briefing, which I do at the dock anyway. No matter what anybody says, a lot of people don't read entire emails. So if you've never sailed with me, and if someone has never sailed with you before, don't take it for granted. Always give them a full safety briefing. But this is an example of a communications that I send out. Weather updates for our sail date on next Saturday, August 18th. Winds 8 and 10. That was just updated now to be 7 to 12. And crew revisions. Let everybody know who the crew is going to be. The guest crew. Anything open on the charter. A description of the type of yacht we're taking out. I include tactical notes for my crew to let them know what I'm seeing and hear. Tactical notes attached to our destination, current tide, and chart slices for the day. Dulcinea Veneto to Oceanus 38 is a deep draft of 6'9". Alameda Baluna Bay is 7 feet. Attached predicted tides 10 a.m. Shows no low tide issues for this boat with a good 3-foot clearance, followed by a nice max ebb tide of 2.1, which will help us get out to the upper bay much faster. Leaving Balina Bay at 9:30 a.m., arriving at Angel Island at 11:30 for lunch, slack tide at 1:35, just perfect for an approach to the Golden Gate Bridge, followed by a nice increasing max flood of 1.8 by 4 p.m., which would get us home faster. There are no low tide issues. Returning to Alameda via McCovey Cove at AT&T Ballpark. Then I include an itinerary, so everybody's on the same track. Clubhouse opens at 8, 8:45 to 8 a.m. PFD, personal flotation device, life jacket fitting. 9 a.m. to 9:30, safety briefing at the dock and a pre-cruise check of the boat and systems. 9:30 to 10 a.m. cast off, a little bit of tacking, jibing, lower bay, training grounds offshore of our harbor. If anybody feels uncomfortable that they're not going to make it, we can drop them off before we head up to the upper bay. Nobody wants to be stuck on a boat all day feeling sick, so I always think of my guests first when I'm sailing. I make sure and do some nice tacks, especially if people have never been on a boat before. Make sure that they're not going to have any issues before actually heading up to the upper bay. Then at 10 a.m. we cast off and head up, beeline motor sailing to Yellow Cove, grab a slip at Angel Island with a close flyby of Alcatraz. We don't arrive in time for a slip at Angel Island. We'll take a mooring ball at Sausalito Yacht Club and have lunch aboard. The plan is from 12 to 1:30 to have lunch, get off the boat at Angel Island State Park for lunch. Don't forget to bring water, a lunch, and snacks you can eat for the day, and of course your favorite beverages. You can bring your own. 1:30 to 4 is the best time of day. We'll cast off and joining the upper San Francisco Bay during the best afternoon winds. We're going to be rotating crew positions, circumventing the bay from Tiburon, Belvedere, and Sausalito. We plan on tacking along the Golden Gate Bridge, weather permitting, letting everyone who wish to participate drive the boat for absolutely awesome photo ops of the Golden Gate Bridge with you at the helm. We'll also be sailing the infamous Slot Wind Tunnel, weather permitting, finally heading home down along the city front, Palace of Fine Arts, Hyde Street Pier, Kodak Park, Pier 39, Port of San Francisco. 4 p.m. to 4:30, stop off at McCovey Cove. There's no Giants home games during our charter, but it's still nice to check out the cove and stadium from the water if you haven't experienced this view. 4:30 to 6 p.m. return to Alameda Home Port. Now it's up to the weather to cooperate to give us clear sailing and good winds. So you communicate this with everybody on the charter. Everybody knows what the itinerary is going to be. They know what to expect. The next thing that I also do, especially for first timers, is include valuable tips to please read. There will be a test, just kidding. These are other things to think about. Think about your crew. Important. Make or your guests more primarily. Your crew is going to have an idea. People that you've sailed with before who have experience will know. People that have never been out will not know these things. So make sure they bring any medications if they need to. We have submarine boats on the board, submarine radios on the boat. But if you have an emergency, it would take time to get back to home port or the nearest dock, or for the Coast Guard to arrive should I have to radio in an emergency. Give these tips to wear sneakers or non-marking tennis shoes. Bring comfortable, loose-fitting, warm, cool-weather clothes. Make sure you bring a hat, sunblock, and very important sunglasses. Gloves, because everybody works on my boats, but I have extra pairs they can borrow. Bring your cameras and binoculars for fantastic shots of the city front. Make sure to bring snacks, lunch you know you can eat, water, and your favorite beverages of choice. Let them know we have a working stove and oven on board if they'd like to learn to use the propane stove and heat up their meals. Open containers are only okay for my guests. We have a fridge to keep the beverages cold, and the yacht is equipped with all cookery, cups, glasses, pots, pans, knives, forks, and spoons. But I prefer everyone bring paper plates and cups because it's good for fast cleanups. First time sailing, don't know if you might get sick. Don't eat a heavy meal the night before the sail. Stay away from heavy oily soups and full course dinners. Do not eat a heavy breakfast before the sail. Eat very light if this is the first time out. That way, if you feel uncomfortable, your stomach won't be forced to throw up all that gunk up. Always carry Dramamine and ginger in my first aid kit just in case. And if they don't have any problems, they can snack on the way until lunch. I remind everyone for the courtesy to prepare the night before the sail, arrive at the club early at 8:45 promptly to be fitted for their jackets, and include my cell phone, and let them know that weather and updates to follow as we near our sail date. Contact information for myself, and the club contact information, as well as a Google map where the club is located at. So communications, communicate with your guests and crew. The more information, the better, so that they will know what to do. I think the worst thing you as a skipper could do is to pile a bunch of people onto your sailboat, unprepared, without a plan, and hoping for the best on San Francisco Bay. That's leading for a recipe for disaster, or at best an unpleasant sail for your guest or you yourself. So at any rate, I hope that these tips help you out on your next charter. Happy you listened. This is Skipper Roberto, and I'll talk to you guys next time.